The motion has been filed by the Leader of the Opposition, Keith Asopardi, and is jointly supported by Together Gibraltar leader Marlene Hassan Naon. Mr. Asopardi says the issue of mental well-being is a major issue for this community, and whether it's the effects of social media, isolation because of COVID, resources, or the fragmented delivery of services, it is generally accepted that there are issues putting the strain on mental health services. He says it should be an issue on which politicians should be able to work together across parties. The opposition leader says last year he wrote to the Chief Minister and Ms. Hassan Naon on a proposal for a motion to establish the Select Committee, but while Ms. Hassan Naon has welcomed and supports the initiative, he has not received a reply from the Chief Minister.
So last year I called for the possibility of cross-party work on mental health. So I called last year on that we should have a select committee established for the subject of mental health, because I think big improvements could be made on the issue of mental health. I wrote to Marlene Hassan and the Chief Minister as well last year. I received support from Marlene. We've been discussing it. I've been waiting to give the Chief Minister some time to reflect. Unfortunately, he hasn't supported it yet, but I'm hoping that he will support the motion when it's actually taken in Parliament. So I filed it today. We think that this is an area where there can be cross-party work, where there can be big improvements made on the issue of mental health, and that's the impetus of the motion that I filed today.
Mr. Asopardi envisages the committee to take advice and hear evidence from experts, GHA personnel, practitioners, and users of mental health services, and help ensure that mental well-being remains a priority.
I think it's important for there to be, as I say, a cross-party effort in the issue of mental health. Look, last year I asked a question on mental health statistics, and we got the information that over 4,000 people in Gibraltar had been prescribed antipsychotics or antidepressants in 2019. We think there can be big improvements. You just have to also look at the 2019 report that came out on the mental health services conducted by Public Health England, that shows that there was a complete lack of integration, a lack of strategy, an unidentified mental health budget. All those issues need to be picked up in a much more vigorous way. And we think this is one of those areas where there does not, or there should not be, a combative approach to politics.
Meanwhile, Ms. Hassan Naon says the COVID crisis is much more than just the impact of the virus, and is a multifaceted crisis, affecting several aspects of our healthcare provision, our education system, the economy, and our social fabric. She says it has highlighted many inequalities, making life particularly difficult for those with lower incomes, pre-existing healthcare issues, and less supportive social networks. Mental health, she says, is one of these aspects, and one that already carries the problems created by decades of neglect.
The new mental health report talks about how there's a lack of coordination and there's a lack of strong leadership. And this is something, of course, that needs to be addressed urgently, because otherwise things cannot work properly and cohesively. The mental health data that I called for has been delivered, but then I also called for something which I thought was imperative, being a direct crisis line. If the government says that there is one, I can assure you that constituents either don't know about it or are not accessing it, because I have first-hand experience with desperate users of the mental health service who have not found a direct crisis line when they have been in need of urgent help. And the other point I raised at the time in the 2016 motion was genuine optimum support in general for mental health service users, which, as we know, and from the latest mental health report, the optimum support is still not there.
The Together Gibraltar leader says this issue is non-partisan, and she's happy to work with the GSD to achieve this committee, which will benefit the entire community, regardless of political affiliations.